Let it make it more interactive rather than a one-way talk. So if you have any doubt, please interrupt me and you can ask the question then and there, so that at the end of this thing, if we keep, sometimes you might forget the questions or it might get lost in the way. So if you have any queries, you can interrupt me at any point of time in my presentation. So what comes to your mind when you hear the word cancer or malignancy?
Bad cells.
Pardon?
Bad cells.
Bad cells, yes. Unwanted bad cells, yes. Okay, as soon as this diagnosis is made or a patient gets to hear about this diagnosis, there is a lot of apprehension, fear, all those factors. Those are the first things which comes to anybody's mind. So if we know about this disease, then all these factors can be handled properly and they can be even cured if they are treated properly. So let me go through my presentation. So by the end of the talk, I think you should have a clear idea what it is, how it can be treated, and what are the preventive measures which we can follow with to reduce the incidence of cancer. So it is now become one of the So what is cancer? Cancer is nothing but unproliferated control of the proliferation of the cells. Every cell in our body which is born has to die at a particular period of time, at the end of particular period of time. For example, a WBC cell which is produced has to die at the end of 48 hours, whereas a BC which is produced will have a lifespan of about 120 days. So like that, every cell in a body has to go through a cycle. It's called a cell cycle. And then at the end of the cell cycle, they degenerate, they undergo apoptosis, what they call it as auto disintegration, and they will be taken out of the system. This is the normal path which is followed throughout. But in one or two of these cells, what they do, they escape from this normal path and they start multiplying uncontrollably. Those are called as malignant cells, or they start forming the tumor. These cells go on multiplying exponentially. Exponentially means one cell becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 16, like that. 16 becomes again 32. So it is an exponential multiplication. As the number of cells increases, the doubling will be more. So stages, it will be a small this thing, whereas once it reaches a certain cells, the doubling becomes more and more. The number of cells which are produced becomes more and more because of this exponential growth. So in the initial stages of their growth, what the cells do is they draw blood supply from the adjacent cells by diffusion. We would have heard of diffusion in our science classes, in our elementary schooling, this thing. So they draw blood supply from the, or nutrition from the surrounding cells when the cell number is small. As the cell number becomes more, what they do is they cannot survive by this diffusion method. So they start developing abnormal blood vessels, the blood vessels of their own from the surrounding normal blood vessels. These are abnormal blood vessels. The normal blood vessels are usually thick-walled and they do not have any fenestrations or the pores. That's why the blood clearly flows through that. There won't be any seepage of the plasma or the blood cells through these normal blood vessels. Whereas these abnormal blood vessels are these cancerous blood vessels which are supplying to this cancerous growth will have fenestration because they are not the normal vessels. They are the abnormal vessels. Through these fenestration, what happens, one or two cells which are abnormal, these cancerous cells, they get dislodged and they enter into this circulation through this fenestration. From these blood vessels, again, they enter into our main bloodstream and then start circulating throughout our body. So as the disease progresses, this number of these circulating cells become more and more in the body and they get lodged in one or two, any parts of the body, any other parts of the body. Take for example of a breast lump. So initially one cell will be there, then so then it forms a lump. The lump goes on increasing in size, it becomes bigger in size, and then it draws its own blood supply. And through the fenestrations in that blood, these cells will start circulating all over the body, and they can get dislodged anywhere, especially in the liver, brain, or the bones. These are the preferential cell sites for the metastasis. That is when we call it as metastasis, when the cells start circulating everywhere in the body and get dislodged away from the normal site of presentation. That is called as metastasis, and this is the most dreaded part of this disease. That's why many of us, even we, fear to see the cases in this stage, that is the with the metastatic disease. So what are the causes of cancer? See, most of the cancer or malignancy is multifactorial. There is no one single cause which we can pinpointly tell that this is the cause of cancer. Many factors will be playing together in the causation of the factor. The commonest factor which we can list as we go through the case studies, or when we speak to the patients and when we take history, we identify certain factors or certain pattern in some of the cancers. So the most important one is tobacco. Tobacco is most importantly associated with head and neck cancers, oral cavity cancers, esophageal cancers. Almost about 18 to 19 types of cancers have been identified to be associated with tobacco usage. So next comes overweight and obesity, which is one of the important etiological factors which have been listed in the factors affecting the malignancy, especially the breast and the endometrial malignancies. Diet, which indirectly are responsible for obesity, and also the less fibered canned food or the processed food. More intake of the canned and the processed food have been associated with colorectal cancers. So before going to this etiology and other things, see, cancer is a broad terminology, or a malignancy is a broad terminology. It can affect any part of our body, starting from our hair follicle to the toenail. So we will not have any like a single symptom or a single this thing to tell that this is the sign of cancer, because the presentation depends on where the cancer is arising. All the symptoms and the signs depend on from where it is arising. Take for example oral cavity cancers. So the commonest symptoms which we can see are oral cavity cancer is a non-healing ulcer. Any ulcer which is not healing for a longer period of time, or more than 3 weeks, for example, should be looked on with a suspicion. A loose tooth because of an ulcer at the base of the tooth, or an ulcer over the tongue, or an ulcer over the cheek should be looked into with a suspicious, and if it is not healing for over a longer period of time, please contact your family physician. Then coming to the throat cancer, the commonest symptoms of the throat cancer is swallowing difficulty or some foreign body sensation in the throat, which persists for longer period of time, which does not relieve with the normal medication, and then earache, change in voice. These are some of the symptoms of the throat cancer. Coming to the breast and the lung, thoracic, lower down. So the breast usually presents as a lump, and the lump will normally be painless lump. So don't think that pain and cancer as a synonym. The pain in the cancer is only seen in the later part of the disease as the disease grows. Or in the breast, if we take the example, it has to grow to a certain size and then infiltrate on the nerves which are on the surrounding area, or the blood vessels on the surrounding area. Then only it starts giving pain. Otherwise, in the early stages, usually we don't see pain in any of the malignancies. So any lump which is been there for a longer period of time, or suddenly it becomes larger in size, those lumps anywhere in the body should be looked with suspicious, and you can contact your family physician for the same. Then coming to lung cancer, usually the lung cancer, commonest symptoms of the lung cancers will be like cough and blood tinged sputum and all those things. Usually the lung cancer and the GI malignancies, that is any cancers in the abdomen, usually they present at a later stage because it has a lot of space. It's an empty space. The lung can expand and then come back to like it can contract and expand. There is a lot of vacant space in those areas, in the abdomen also, because till the tumors reach a certain stage and then can apply pressure like stomach and all those things, they are hollow structures. Tumor can really grow to a larger size before they produce any symptoms. So that's why usually we get these lung cancers and abdominal cancers or any GI malignancies. Usually they present in a later part of the disease. This is the trend which is being observed all over the world, not only in India, all over the world. But in other countries, what happens is some other malignancies which can be easily seen are where there are screening tests available. I'll be enumerating that in my further slides. So those cancers are usually detected early. See what happens, the difference between the treatment and the outcomes depends on how early the disease is detected. So the commonest causes, as I have enumerated, tobacco, excessive obesity, excessive weight, and the diet factors. These are almost about 60% of the causes, 55 to 60% of the causes. These are definitely modifiable causes. Some of the occupational hazards, which are like the people who are working with chemicals, benzenes and hydrocarbons, they are exposed as an occupational hazard, and some of the cancers have been related to that. And again, viruses, human papilloma virus and hepatitis B virus have been associated with CA cervix, carcinoma cervix, and then hepatocellular carcinomas. So alcohol and tobacco, they go hand in hand, and the risk increases when there is concurrent use of alcohol and tobacco. So again, these are the causes. As I told you, about 60 to 65% of these causes are preventable. So if we avoid these carcinogens and make some changes in the lifestyle and make some changes in the diet and other things, about 60 to 65% of these cancers are preventable. So coming to the most important of this, tobacco. The tobacco is toxic to the body, definitely it is obnoxious, it is bad for our health, and it is addictive. It causes cancer, and also along with the cancer, it causes several other diseases like the cardiovascular diseases, peripheral vascular diseases, and almost it affects, like cancer, it affects all our systems, starting from the central nervous system to the peripheral nervous system. It can affect all the systems of our body, and it is apprehensive to the mind. So there are about 72 carcinogens which have been isolated from the tobacco. In that, about 15 has been placed in the group 1. The carcinogens can be grouped into group 1, group A, group 2B. In that, group 1 are proven beyond doubt that they are carcinogenic in human beings. So such 15 carcinogens have been isolated which fall into group 1, and totally they have isolated about 72 carcinogens from the tobacco. So tobacco has there are two important components in the tobacco. So many people get confused with this. The nicotine is not the carcinogenic part of the tobacco. Nicotine is an addictive component, whereas the tar, which contains the chemicals, that is a carcinogenic component of the tobacco, whereas nicotine is an addictive component. So that's why nowadays they have come up with when we are weaning off the patients from the tobacco usage or the cessation of the tobacco usage, these nicotine patches, nicotine chewing gums will be used because to avoid. Usually they get back to this habit because of this addictive component, nicotine, which makes them go back to tobacco once they try to stop smoking or try to stop using a chemical component when compared to the cigarette. And when we come to the direct use of tobacco, that is a chewable form of tobacco, which is the most commonly used form of tobacco in South Asian countries. The quid, what they keep along with the betel nut and this thing, they keep it in their cheek and they sleep also with that. So that's the commonest reason for these cheek cancers, or the buccal mucosa cancers, or the tongue cancers, any of the oral cavity cancers. That is an important causative agent which we are seeing. And especially the gutka also, gutka which is being used in younger generations. Usually they start abusing this thing from the age of 16 years, 16, 17 years, they start using gutka. So these are the few are snuff, even the snuff, which is the breathe, which they breathe through the nose. That is also a form of tobacco, this thing. So these are the commonest substance abuses of the tobacco, which we see in our clinics. So this is how a normal lung, contrast between a normal lung, how it looks, and then the cicatrized lung of a tobacco smoker, where it loses its expandable capacity, and a lot of these chemicals get accumulated over this, and over a period of time they lead to inflammation, and then they turn into malignancy. So this is how the oral mucosal changes start happening. Initially, this star gets accumulated in the mucosa around the teeth and the mucosa, and then the inflammation starts in the surrounding mucosa, which eventually turns into malignancy. This we call it as oral submucous fibrosis, which is commonly seen in the chewable form of the tobacco, especially the gutka users, where the pliable capacity. See, our mucosa is very soft, the buccal mucosa, the inner layer of our cheek, that we call it as mucosa. Mucosa is very soft and it is pliable. It expands. When I open my mouth, it expands and then comes back to normal. What happens with the fibrosis is they will not be able to open their mouth to a normal extent. If you had seen some of the gutka users with in your friends or in your surroundings, now eventually as they continue using gutka, the opening capacity of their mouth comes down and they'll not be able to open the mouth to a normal extent. That is because of this fibrosis which happens in the mucosa. What is that? Expandable capacity of the mucosa comes down. Then, as I told you, there are about 19 varieties of the cancers, 19 types of the cancers have been associated with tobacco usage. Commonly seen are head and neck cancers, the oral cavity, or in the head and throat cancers, esophageal cancer, lung cancer, liver, stomach, colorectal, kidney, bladder, ovary, AML. All these are the commonest cancers which are being associated with tobacco usage. Alcohol consumption in combination with the smoking increases oral, laryngeal, esophageal, and the liver cancers. The risk increases, or it increases by twofold when these two are used in combination. So this is an advanced case of the tobacco-induced oral cavity cancer. When they come at this stage, even we will not be able to help them in any way. So even the second-hand smoke, in case of a chain smokers, the household people who are exposed to the second-hand smoke also have the chances of developing lung cancers, especially the women folk in the family. When a male person starts smoking continuously in the family, they are exposed to this second-hand smoke and they do develop lung cancer. I have already enumerated about the smokeless tobacco, which are commonly seen in our country or South Asian countries. So once a person starts abusing the tobacco from the age of 18 or 20 and he uses it for 10 years, at the age of 30, as they grow, as they mature, they also understand about this hazards of this tobacco usage and they stop using the tobacco. But the effects of tobacco are not going to stop as soon as the person stops the tobacco. It takes a longer time for our system to recoup from the injury which has already happened due to the tobacco. If you see this chart, then that usually will get scared by seeing this chart, because so much of injury has occurred over a period of years, and to the system to come back to normal, it really takes a very long time, and almost it never reaches the normal stage. Zero level is never reached even after we stop using the tobacco. It almost takes about 3 months for the blood circulation to improve to a normal level. The lung function to just improve by 30%, it takes about 3 months of cessation, 3 months after cessation. So after 1 year of cessation of the smoking, the risk of heart diseases or coronary heart diseases is again cut to only half of 50%. It reduces, the chance reduces to about 50% at the end of 1 year. Whereas at the end of 10 years, the risk of dying from lung cancer is just cut off by 50%. So imagine the changes it has made in your lung, so that even it will never reach a zero level, even if you stop smoking. If you have abused a substance for a longer period of time, and then you stop this thing also, smoking, or you stop the usage of tobacco, it will never, the system will never return to normal. Only the chances of these malignancies or the chances of these diseases reduces by certain percentage, but it will never reach zero, because already it has initiated the inflammatory process. Already it has made the changes in the cells in these vital organs, which will continue through the patient's life. So now coming to, as I told you, so it can affect, the malignancy can affect any part of the body. So there are no single tests to identify this. So few people will come when we detect some of their family members with the cancer, when they come for this thing. The bystanders, the commonest question what we get is, doctor, is there any test which we can do, the family members we can do, so that we can find out if any of us have cancer? Because as I told you, it can affect any part of the body, and the symptoms in the different parts are different. There is no single test to detect a malignancy. It is like commonest, which part of the body it is affected, the symptoms are also according to that, and the tests are also according to that, and then the treatment is also according to the part which it has been affected. Now, what are the commonest cancers which we see in the clinics? And we have some screening tests available for certain cancers. So I will one by one discuss these screening tools, or the cancers which have screening modalities, and which we usually commonly see in our clinics. Coming to the male cancers, usually males, we have lung cancer, head and neck cancers, colorectal cancers, and the prostate cancers. These usually constitute about 70% of the cancers which we see in the male population. So the lung cancer and the head and neck cancer, I have already enumerated it along with the tobacco, this thing. The commonest cause for these two cancers are the tobacco usage, and usually the symptoms are non-healing ulcers and all those things. So anybody can inspect that area. If you have any doubt, you can just contact your doctor. So coming to the colorectal cancer, see, colon is a large intestine, and the rectum is the terminal part of this large intestine. So these cancers initially were believed to be the malignancies which is commonly seen in the Western world and not in the Indian subcontinent, because of the food habits, that is lack of fiber diet, and more and more use of canned food and red meat. All these things were associated with colorectal cancer. So we used to see these cancers more commonly in Western countries than in our country. But there is a peculiar trend which we are observing, especially in the young adults. We are getting to see this colorectal cancer in the third decade, that is in their 30s and 40s, we are getting to see this colorectal cancer. The reason being really a big question mark even to us. Maybe change in the lifestyle, change in the dietary habits have been the reason for these malignancies. What are the symptoms of these colorectal cancers? Colorectal cancers usually present with bleeding per rectum, any bleeding in the stool, or painless. Usually it will be painless bleeding. Painful bleeding, piles and hemorrhoids usually will have painful bleeding, whereas any painless bleeding, or the person who is having unexplained anemia, the blood may not be seen in the stool also. It is called as occult blood. There will be a slight color in the stool which a normal person will not be able to make out. That we call it as occult blood in the stool. So their continuous loss of blood in this stool will lead on to anemia, malabsorption and all those things will lead on to anemia. And when they start investigating for anemia, then they will find these colorectal cancers. So any unexplained anemia or blood in the stool, or alter bowel habits. A person who was moving the bowels regularly, usually there will be an habit. Every day in the morning, they'll evacuate their bowel. So any change in the bowel habit, either constipation or diarrhea, which is persisting for longer period of time, or constipation alternating with diarrhea. For a few days they'll be constipated, and next few days they'll be having continuous diarrhea. So any change in the bowel habit when compared to a regular pattern should be looked with suspicious, and you should consult your doctor. These are the commonest symptoms of the colorectal cancers. So how can we screen for these colorectal cancers? There is a simple test called as fecal occult blood test. This test detects the blood cells in the feces, that is the excreta from our body. So when we go for an yearly blood test, don't forget to ask for this fecal occult blood test, so that if any problem, any blood is seen in the stool, you can be further evaluated. So this is a simple blood test. See, screening test we cannot, there will be a screening test for every cancer, but it should be cost effective and it should be applied to the masses. So we can't just, because of there is a high chance of lung cancer, we can't subject everyone who comes to our clinic. You go and get a CT scan done, you go and get a high HRCT done. Those tests are not like, it's cost versus benefit has to be weighed in the masses, and then only those screening tests will be implemented in the clinic. This is simple test, a stool test which can be done in any laboratory, which can be applied as a screening tool. And if any problem is found in this screening test, then they do go ahead with the other investigations like colonoscopy, sigmoidoscopy, and other things if required. So whereas in the Western countries, usually it's a guideline. Every year they have to get a fecal occult blood test, and every 5 years sigmoidoscopy, and every 10 years colonoscopy. Usually they do it once the person crosses the age of 50 years. That is because usually at the age of 50, there is about 25% risk of developing these polyps. Polyps are nothing but abnormal growth. These are need not be malignant. If these persist for longer period of time, these polyps, when they persist for longer period of time, they can turn into malignancies. After 10 years, after 20 years, they can turn into malignancy. So when we do a colonoscopy at the age of 50, and if we found any of these polyps, this can be resected endoscopically. There and then they can be resected, so that this transformation into advanced cancer will be prevented. That is the intention of doing colonoscopy or sigmoidoscopy at the age of 50 years. Then coming to this adenomas, as I told you, adenoma will take about 10 years to develop into a colorectal cancer. So in between this time frame, we have to catch the people and then treat this adenoma, so that we can prevent this colorectal cancer. Whereas there is some entity called as hereditary polyposis colonic cancer, where these adenomas can turn into colorectal cancers within 2 to 3 years of time span. This is a hereditary component. Not all cancers are hereditary. There are about 20% of the cancers which run in families. Usually these hereditary cancers are the commonest cluster. What we see is breast cancer, endometrial cancer, and this colonic cancers run in family: ovary, breast, and endometrium and colon cancer, along with prostate. So females in the family will usually have a cluster of these things: breast, ovary, and endometrium, whereas males will have colon and prostate. So not all malignancies are familial. Only about 10 to 15% of them runs in family. So next, coming to the second commonest cancer, which is third most commonest cancer, which we do see in our clinical practice, is prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is usually a disease of the elderly population. More than 70 years elderly male patients, we get to see this cancer. This is one of the age-related cancers of the testosterone induced stimulation of the prostate. So the simple test which can detect this prostate cancer is serum PSA level. It is a simple blood test. When we do annual blood test, we can this can be a part of that annual blood test where we can do serum PSA level after the age of 50 years. And if there is any family history of malignancy, as I told you, either breast or ovary and endometrium in the females of the family, or prostate or colon, prostate cancer history, family history is there in the family, then this screening test should be applied earlier, like maybe 10 years earlier when compared to a general population. If you don't have family history, you can start this screening test at the age of 50. If there is family history, you have to start 10 years earlier than the youngest member of the family who had developed the cancer. So coming to the commonest female malignancy, the breast cancer is now the frequently diagnosed cancer in the women. We are getting to see it in more and more younger population. That is the one which is making it scarier, this thing, because of there are advances in the therapy, there are advances in the medicines which have been used. There is, even though there is an increase in the incidence of the breast cancer, there is actually a decline in the death due to breast cancer by about 38% when compared to about 2 or 3 decades ago. Now we are seeing lesser number of deaths due to breast cancer because we are able to manage them in a better way. And if detected early, definitely they are curable. So what are the commonest ways which we can detect the breast cancer? What happens usually is, last week also we happened to see a patient in our clinic who had a breast lump for a year. It's not that year, or more than a year, I think she had. She was diagnosed with a breast cancer for an year. Diagnosis was made a year back. Maybe from 6 months back to that 1.5 year duration, she had the breast lump. In spite of getting detected with the breast cancer, she did not take the treatment for the fear of the treatment. I don't know who has counseled her or who had talked to her at the first instant. She kept that disease with her, and then after a year she came to us for the treatment. So by that time it would already have been progressed. It will reach the axilla, and the chances of cure rates comes down as the stage increases. So if detected early, we'll be able to treat them in a better way. So we have to pick up these diseases as early as possible to get a better cure. It is not that Western countries have better facilities, or they treat it in a better way. When we compare the cure rates between India and the Western countries, usually their cure rates are there, these things will look lucrative. That's why our all celebrities or VIPs will flock into those countries for the treatment or this thing. Or when you look into the treatment part or the protocols which are followed, we are not inferior to them. We are actually on par with them, or even better than when we are treating them. But the problem within our society is the 80% of the diseases what we detect in our country are all advanced stage. We get to see only stage 3 and stage 4 cancers. Very, very rarely we get to see any malignancy in stage 1 and stage 2 because of lot of ignorance, fear, and then inaccessibility to the facilities. These are the hindrances in our society. So usually they come to us only at the later part of the disease. If we detect them early, when we detect them at a stage, earlier stage, when a mammographically detected breast cancer, we'll definitely do it in a better way than a lump getting detected and then treating. So whereas same thing happens in case of cervical cancers also. If you detect them at an earlier stage, it is better. The cure rates are definitely going to be better and better when compared to a later part of this thing. So that is a main theme of these health checkups, health in the screening programs, and all those things. So coming to the breast, what are the screening tools which we can use is self-breast examination. Simple thing is self-breast examination. A lady examines herself systematically, the all parts of the breast. Either it can be done in any of these method. One day in a month, she has to mark it in her calendar. Usually we try to we tell them to avoid the perimenstrual period, that is first 5 days of our menstrual cycle, or 5 days before our menstrual cycle. We avoid doing this test because of the tenderness, perimenstrual tenderness of the breast tissue. So maybe they can mark a 14th day or 10th day of their menstrual cycle, and then systemically examine the breast with the palm of your hand, not the tip, it is the palm of your hand you should use, and then you should palpate the breast tissue. So it can be done either systematically. All quadrants of the breast should be palpated either in this way. This is one of the systemic way. Otherwise, so starting from the nipple areolar conus with a round circular motion, you can start examining the breast, the whole of the breast tissue. This is other method. Other method is you can start from any quadrant, go in and then move out, go in and then move out. So like with this systematic movement, you should not leave any part of the breast unpalpated. So every part of the breast, including the nipple areolar complex, should be examined with the palm of your hand, and then not to forget the axilla. Even the armpit needs to be examined with your fingers, because this is where sometimes we get the regional nodes, lymph nodes we call them. The from the a lump, when a lump is there, from here the disease goes to armpit. Sometimes we get lumps in the armpit also. So this armpit also has to be palpated. This is self breast examination. And then if you have any doubt, then you can contact your family physician, or once a year you can get your breast examined by your family physician. Then after the age of 40 or 49 years, every woman should go for screening mammography.
Hello.
Mammography, there are, yes? Any doubts?
Hello.
Yeah.
Dr. Balaji here. Sorry to interrupt. If I can ask question now.
Yeah, tell me.
I have a doubt. Doctor, you said moving the palm or moving the finger.
Yeah.
Do they feel the pain or what? How will they understand?
No, lump. It is a lump. It is a swelling which they have to feel. Pain will not be there. It is a lump. Breast will always present as painless lump. Any abnormal lump, Kannadadalli helbekandre gant tara. Normal breast will not any gadde tara athwa gant tara enu irodilla. Any lump, if they feel any abnormal this thing they feel, that should be reported.
Thanks, doctor. Got your point.
Okay. So pain is always a later symptom. Only when it applies pressure over the certain nerves or the surrounding blood vessels, then only they will start getting the pain. Otherwise, breast cancers are always present as painless lump. Okay, then the important screening test which can be this thing is after the age of 40 is mammography. Mammography, we have two types, that is the digital mammography, which uses the X-rays. If there is the risk of using X-rays repeatedly, then we have ultrasound mammogram also. So this has to be done regularly after the age of 40 years. So what happens in all Western countries usually is they get these tests done very systematically, regularly, because most of them are insured. And your insurance companies ask for these tests every year. If they don't do these tests and then they get detected with this breast cancer or cervical cancers or this colorectal cancer, then the insurance company is going to deny the treatment part of these malignancies. So because of that reason, in those countries, usually they get this test done in a routine basis every year. Whereas in our country, where not even 10% of the people are insured, even if they are insured, it is not mandatory for them to go through all these tests. This culture of the screening tests are not there in our country. Nowadays, because of this, some of the corporate institutions which at least give their employees and the parents of these employees some of these annual health checks and all those things, we are also starting to see few cases getting detected at an earlier stage. Otherwise, as I told you, most of the time we get to see them in locally advanced stage only. So then coming to the next commonest female cancers which we see is cervical cancer. You see, cervix is the outermost part of the uterus, which is a female organ of birth. So the outermost part, ಅಥವಾ ನಾವೇನು ಗರ್ಭಕೋಶದ ಬಾಯಿ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, mouth of the uterus, that is called as cervix. So these cervical cancers are also commonly, this is the second most common cancer which we usually see in our clinics. This is mostly seen in the lower socioeconomic state. Breast usually we see from the urban population. Breast cancers are usually from the urban this thing, whereas the cervical cancers are from the lower socioeconomic state, and from the rural areas we get to see these cervical cancers. So this important causative factor for this cervical cancer which has been identified is 98% of the cervical cancers have been associated with human papilloma virus. It is a virus which is causing these cancers. Every woman in her lifestyle, once they become sexually active, will be exposed to this will be exposed to this human papilloma virus infection, which will get unnoticed. It will not get, that infection will not have any specific signs or any specific symptoms so that we can identify it. It just passes on as some viral infection which a lady will not notice at all. So these viruses are going to get lodged in the cervical basement membrane, and at the end of 10 years, 15 years, they slowly transform into malignancy. So the importance of this screening tool which we commonly apply is, this is pap smear. What we do is we take a smear from this cervix from a wooden spatula. It's a totally a painless procedure. It is just like going for an internal examination, that's all, per vaginal examination. It will be little bit of discomfort only. There is definitely a painless procedure. So what we usually do in pap smear is, we just take a smear from this cervical area and put it on a slide and then send that slide for examination. Any abnormal cells in those areas can be picked up at an earlier stage, even before they go into invasive form. Invasive, we call it as pre-invasive, pre-cancerous stage only these cells can be detected. If we detect these abnormal cells, then that can be treated with a lesser morbid treatment, these things, and with a lesser surgical procedures they can be handled. Once they enter into invasive stage and the stage increases in stage 3, stage 4, then we have to treat them more aggressively with a more like a multimodality treatment. Initially, if they get detected at an earlier stage, a single modality of treatment will be there. That's the advantage of detecting the malignancies at an earlier stage. At least for the females, these pap smears and mammogram should be done regularly. So what is the protocol for this screening test? Usually pap smear, they have to begin at the age of 20 years and then repeat it every 3 years until the age of 30 years if it is negative. And HPV testing can be added along with the pap smear after the age of 30 years. And if they are negative, then they can repeat it every 5 years. So this has to go on up till the age of 65 years, because as I told you, once it is at the 65 years, if it is negative, then the chances of it turning into malignancy is very less, because it takes about 10 years to develop from a pre-invasive to an invasive stage. So we know the cause here, because 98% of these malignancies are due to human papilloma virus. And this is the only cancer where we have vaccine available for it, because we know the reason. This is the cause for the malignancy here. So there is a vaccine available for it. About 2 companies are producing vaccine for this human papilloma virus HPV vaccine. Usually it is recommended at the age of 15-16 years. Before a woman becomes sexually active, we usually recommend these vaccines, 2 doses, 2 to 3 doses according to the age of the person. Usually they give it at 0.6 or 0.26 depending upon the companies which we use. So this has to be utilized for all the female or the daughters in the family should be vaccinated against these viruses.
Doctor, hello.
Yes. Yeah.
Doctor, you mentioned cervical cancer is mostly commonly found in village, and breast cancer is found mostly in city
Urban areas. Yeah.
so, urban areas. So, what is that difference there? Is it because of the lifestyle, or is it because of
See, as I
economic?
told you, cervical cancer, we have HPV, human papilloma virus, is the causative agent. And almost all women will get exposed to these viruses. And when the chances of infection is more when there is poor hygiene, poor menstrual hygiene, poor hygiene of the private parts, all those things play an important role. Nutrition, all those things play an important role here. That is a reason for HPV viruses being more common in lower socioeconomic status. Whereas the breast cancer, it is lot of hormonal influences, obesity and dietary influences we have. It's an hormone related cancer. Breast cancer is a hormone related. The more obese a woman is, it's estrogen. The more amount of estrogen is not only produced by our ovaries, our fat cells also produce estrogen hormone. So when women is more fat, or when there is more fat content in the body, there is more amount of estrogen, which in turn stimulates the breast tissue to develop the breast cancer. That is how usually the relation is seen. It is not that this is the only cancer, only reason I told you, because multiple factors will be playing at the same time. But these are the reasons which we can give for these being common in urban and rural areas.
Got it, doctor. Thank you so much.
So then coming to the treatment part, we have multimodality. Usually management of any malignancy is multimodality treatment. Not only one specialty is involved in the treatment of these diseases. Depends on the site, which site it is and which stage it is. Everybody, like we have 3-4 components in the management of the malignancy. One is medical oncologist, the one who takes care of chemotherapy and the medical related problem. Surgical oncologist, where the surgery is required, there they will play a role, especially in cases of, they have a major role to play in case of breast cancers and colorectal cancers, where we cannot think of cure without doing surgery. Whereas liquid malignancies, that is the blood cancer, lymphomas, leukemias, there is no role for surgery. Usually those are the malignancies which are dealt with medical oncologists. Chemotherapy is the main modality of treatment in lymphomas, leukemias, and all those things. Coming to radiation oncology, we have a curative role to play in most of the head and neck cancers, cervical cancers, and as a part of treatment in breast cancer and colorectal cancer as a multimodal. So every case has to be discussed before we start any treatment with all these specialties, and then the treatment protocol will be charted out and will be followed in different permutations and combination. Like for example, take an example of breast cancer. Sometimes directly we might be able to take them for surgery and then subject her for chemotherapy and radiation, or sometimes we first give chemotherapy and then reduce the size of the tumor, then take her for surgery and then add on radiation and chemotherapy. So like that, depending on the case by case basis, we decide on what has to be done for that patient. So this is how the multimodality discussion, this we call it as tumor board. Everybody, all the specialties will be present. They discuss the case by case, and then chart out the treatment and then start the treatment. That is the advantage of going to an exclusive onco center. Usually what they tell is, see, the patient had malignancy, they did not get cured, or they succumb to the disease or something like that. Usually we get to hear from our friends or relatives this thing. When we probe and ask them what happened, why they did not get cured, most of the time they would not have taken the proper line of treatment. Even if they get detected early also, the proper treatment has to be delivered. If you don't get detected early, first key factor for the cure is early detection. After early detection, proper treatment, proper modality of treatment should also be delivered. Then only the cure is possible. If there is no proper treatment, even though there is an early modality of treatment, some hodgepodge treatment or go to some alternative medicine, and once it reaches next stage, then they come back to us. So these also we get to see in our clinical practice. So early detection and proper treatment is the key for cure. So that is this. If properly treated, early cancers definitely are curable. So they have to consult a proper center for this treatment. So what happens in our center usually is it is a tumor board. We discuss almost all cases in our tumor board and take a combined decision. It is not only individual decision, it is a combined decision from all the modalities of the treatment. We get the inputs from all the modalities and then we start the treatment. That is the advantage of going to an institute where you have all the modalities, all the facilities which is available. So World Cancer Day usually is celebrated in the first week of February, that is February every year. So this every 4 years we get to change the slogan. So up till this year it is I am ideal. This is mainly to create awareness and then to no, I didn't get your question. You are asking about de-addiction of this thing?
Correct. Correct,
BD.
doctor.
Yeah,
BD.
see, most of the time it has to come from that person themselves. Without that, it is very difficult to leave these habits, especially if your father-in-law means definitely he'll be more than 50 years or nearing 50 or that's the age. So he would have started it at the age of 18 years. The longer the period of these abuses, it is very difficult to wean them off from these things. And most of the time it has to come from them. Within them, it has to start and then only it has to be this thing. So you can take it to, there are many de-addiction this thing, but there is one in Nimans also has a very good de-addiction center. What you can do is you can, as we have to go by step. First, reduce the number of BDs what he is using every day, and then you can replace it with these nicotine patches or nicotine chewing gums. Usually they go back to the BD because of that addictive component, which is the nicotine. So this thing, instead of smoking, you tell them to use those chewing gums so that the nicotine, that addictive component, that urge to use the tobacco comes down, and then he can reduce the number of BDs he is smoking and then stop this thing. It cannot happen in a day or two. It has to go in a step-by-step manner, and he has to be counseled, and then only it will be successful. Otherwise, what we have seen is even in our malignancy patients, also head and neck patient, during the treatment, will be there after when they come for follow-up after 2 years, the commonest complaints from the family members is he has again gone back to BD, he has again gone back to cigarette. That is the commonest things which we see. Sometimes the surroundings, the environment also plays a role. Is abusing it, there are more chances of so it's a very complex thing which has to be managed.
Thank you so much, doctor.
Hello, doctor.
Hello.
This is Shashireka.
Hello, Shashireka.
Actually, we hear a lot in the social media and we read a lot in the social media, like this usage of plastic causes cancer.
Usage of?
Plastic bottles. Is that true?
Yeah, definitely plastic is hazardous to our health because it is non-biodegradable. Even the smallest, like when we drink water from these plastic bottles, what happens is the molecules of plastic get into our GI tract, maybe our intestines and all those things. There they can get attached to those intestinal mucosas and all those things, and they can start initiate these inflammatory processes.
I hear like in the food and all, like food coloring agents will be used.
Yes, definitely those are hazardous. Chemical these things, if they are using many of these, that's the reason for this colorectal cancers in Western countries. That is because of this canned food, which many of these preservatives what they use in this canned food, and this coloring agents which is used in this, those are all, most of them are chemicals which come under the list of carcinogenic agent. In at least in other countries, they have certain regulatory boards and all those things where they say this drug cannot be used, this medicine or this chemical cannot be used as a food additive, this chemical cannot be used as a coloring agent, or all those things. Guidelines are there. Those guidelines are not very strict in our country. Our country is still using lots and lots of these chemicals in many of these whatever this junk food, coloring agents and all those things. Maybe that is the reason why even we are getting to see more and more cases of colorectal cancers.
Doctor, this is Subramania.
Yeah, tell me.
This vaccination, you said what age we can give it?
Usually it is at the age of 16 to 20.
For both, only for girls, this vaccination?
As of now in India, we are giving it only for the girls because as a preventive measure for cervical cancers. HPV is even been associated with oropharyngeal cancers, that is a variety of throat cancer. So in US, even they advise it to the male these things because of this oropharyngeal cancer as a preventive measure for the oropharyngeal cancers. Usually in India, even the females only, usually there's no achievement of the vaccination, this thing in the females. So usually it is advisable for the females. In US, even they have advocated it for the males also.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Doctor, like even after vaccination, also that regular test for that pap smear,
Yes,
is it required?
yes, it is required. Vaccination doesn't mean that you have to disregard the screening procedures. Even after vaccination, they have to follow the screening schedules.
Okay, madam.
Dr. Bogesh here.
Yeah, tell me.
What is the chances of recurrence of cancer, doctor, after treatment? I mean, which type of
on
cancer?
the stage, what treatment they have taken. See, it cannot be generalized like what it all depends. It is again multifactorial. When was it diagnosed? At what stage it was diagnosed? What modality of treatment was given? And all those things, depending on, it's a case by case basis. We will be able to tell the recurrence patterns.
And there is a common belief that somebody, I mean, like one of the family members is tested cancer, then there is a possibility of the family, like son or daughter, getting cancer.
No, it's a misconception. It's a misconception. Only about 15 to 20% of the malignancies are familial. Not all cancers are familial. When we see the cancers, a cluster of them in a family, then we will suspect that there is a family component running there, and then we get tested for that. We are not going to test all our patients for the familiar malignancies. Like we see a cluster, like mother had breast cancer or a cousin had ovarian cancer, like that, about 3 or 4 members in a family. When we take the history, we usually take this family history also. When we see that, when we suspect that there is a family component running in that, then we ask for this genetic testing, because these genetic testings are very costlier. So we usually routinely don't ask for all the patients. So whenever there is only suspicion, only 20% of them run in family. That's all, maximum 20%.
Dr. Prasanna here. On the stages of cancer, can you please brief like what is stage 1, stage 2?
Stage 1, stage 2. Generally, see, it is different for different site of the cancer. What is stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4? Generally, if I want to tell what is stage 1 is, stage 1 will be a very small cancer which is limited to the same site, which is, I will take an example of either head and neck cancer. Like take an example of a tongue cancer, which is very small in size, less than 2 centimeter in size, which is limited only to the tongue, that we call it as stage 1 cancer. Stage 2 will be a tongue cancer, which is either the size has increased more than 2 centimeter, or it has gone to a node on the same side. we call it as regional lymph node. Disease from one area will spread to the next area. That is a regional lymph node. Regional lymph node means we have lymph nodes all over in all of our body. They're like policemen. They prevent the disease from spreading elsewhere. Like for head and neck cancer, the regional node, when we get throat cancer, throat pain or throat infection, we get nodes in our neck. We can palpate some swellings in our neck. Those are the lymph nodes. Whereas when we get an arm or a wound in the arm, we get lymph nodes in our axilla. Whereas when there is an ulcer in the lower limb, we get some swellings in our groin area. Those are the lymph nodes. They prevent the disease from spreading elsewhere. So from tongue, the first where they spread is to the lymph node. That is called as stage 2. From here, it has gone to this upper lymph node. That is the first drainage area. And then the third stage, maybe from here, it has gone to this node or gone to the next node or gone to a contralateral neck. Then it is stage 3. Stage 4 is usually it is eroded into the bone, it is involved the bone, or it has become an ulcer over the skin, or that is stage 4A. In 4 also there are different stages, are there 4A, 4B and all those things. That is 4A. 4B is when it has gone to different part of the body. From here, it has gone to the lung, or it has already gone to the bone or the brain. Then it is called as stage 4B.
Thank you, Doctor. So just one clarification. You said that so these malicious cells will start drawing blood from the blood vessels directly. So at what stage that will start happening?
That will start from stage 1 itself. Once they reach more than 1 centimeter of the size, they can't draw the blood from the surroundings. So they start drawing the blood vessels from the stage 1 itself. They start drawing the blood from the blood vessels.
Yeah, thank you.
Madam, one more question on this plastic actually. We are in this generation, we are more addicted to this usage of the plastic. Say if you are buying one water bottle, mineral bottle, everywhere plastic is there, and mostly we can't avoid them. Sometimes I feel like that without plastic.
See, it is not like it is not avoidable. See, it is generally it should become a conscious, it's environmental, not only health conscious, it's also an important environmental consciousness is this also. Before availability of plastics and all those things, we used to carry our own water bottles, right? We used to carry our own water bottles, or we used to carry our own water wherever we go. Wherever we are not affordable to these packed water or packed bottles or packed water, whenever we used to travel when we were kids, always mother used to carry water from our home bottle, and when we used to travel we used to use. So that should become a culture again. See, now because of more and more of affluence, more and more easy availability of this plastic and whatever packed water or packed food and all those things, that culture whatever was there is slowly weaning off. So we have to consciously bring it back. So whenever we are traveling, we should, at least everybody can make this thing. No, I won't purchase a packed drinking water. There will be everywhere. Every hotel will have AquaGuard. So we can use the AquaGuard. Or if you are so much health conscious, you can ask for warm water or a boiled water. That is also available. So we need not have to purchase a packed drinking water. So that culture has to come from within, and that's what small changes from every individual will take it to.
And ma'am, it is only one kind of cancer, which that colon cancer, something you told, no? Only the plastic will be affected only for that cancer, or it will for other organs also?
As of now, it is the only reason what we can see, because it goes through our GI tract. Otherwise, they usually have not seen much association with that.
Other organs. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Prasanna here. When we talk about plastic bottles, right? Like, so the pipelines which carries water to our house, that is a plastic, and then like even the water purifier, right? The storage in that is a plastic. So how do we?
See, that's what. See, we cannot see. Plastic has become so indispensable in our life. it's been everywhere. So wherever possible, at least we have to try to avoid using them.
Oh, thanks, Doctor. Anyone has any other questions?
Ma'am, any tips to prevent like in the food and all? Like I heard like using of cauliflower, cabbage and all will boost up the immunity, but I also heard it will it is like more fertilizers are being used to that vegetables. So sometimes
Yes, we'll
so
have
much of
to
reading and exploring, it is confusing for us which to be visited, which
see.
veg.
Actually, it is the any diet which is more in fibers, which is rich in antioxidants, is good for health. Like sprouts, home prepared sprouts, which are more in micronutrients, and then proteins, and colored fruits. At least one fruit every day in our diet. These food habits can be inculcated. It is not that you have to eat only broccoli or this thing. Broccoli was not there in our food habits 20 years or the second 2 decades, 3 decades back. So whatever is locally available in your this thing, which is locally grown in your area, use that in a to a maximum extent. That is this thing. It's not only this vegetable has to be used or that vegetable has to be used. More of fiber rich food in the diet, and a lot of micronutrients, vitamins, those has to be incorporated in our diet.
Thank you, ma'am.
Doctor, friends, I mean, I think she has got some, consultations lined up. So let's thank Dr. Sunita for all the insightful thoughts, all the time she has spent. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Very useful session.
Hope it was informative.
It was very informative, Doctor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
the
doctor.
thanks for the
Thank you.
host.